of last week, the 26th of January, that infamous document on the matrix of differences between the autonomy bill submitted by Tobago and the ones currently before the Joint Select Committee. CSO data has revealed that since 2022, the start of the reign of this Farley Augustine-led THA administration, the Tobago economy has been steadily declining. And this comparative to the Trinidad economy that seems to have gained some ground. We, the Innovative Democratic Alliance, stand firm in our commitment to the people of Tobago and the pursuit of responsible governance. And it is in this light that we address critical concerns regarding the operation of this THA administration led by Chief Secretary Farley Chavez Augustine. Ladies and gentlemen, I call to address you, the political leader of the Innovative Democratic Alliance, Madam Speak Truth to Power, Dr. Denise Sawyerfat Angus. Dr. Angus.
Thank you, Madam PRO, Kay Trotman, and let me say a special good afternoon to the people of Tobago, the viewing audience wherever you are, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you for joining us today as we address critical concerns on Tobago's issues regarding the administration led by the Chief Secretary, Farley Augustine, Tobago House of Assembly. It's not his job, it's not his place, it's not his responsibility. These words from Chief Secretary Farley Augustine reveal a troubling trend of abdication of responsibility for the welfare of Tobagonians and the progress of our island. We charge Chief Secretary Augustine with a complete dereliction of duty in addressing crucial matters such as Tobago's autonomy, constitutional reform, economic stability and accountability as part of providing good governance in the country. His statement in a recent Newsday article, "That is not our place nor our job," encapsulates his failure to lead and serve Tobago effectively. Chief Secretary Augustine has enjoyed an office that pays him many times more than his last income. A beautiful house and gardens, trips all over the world, accounting to no one. And it's not his place nor his job to get the best for Tobago. He is enjoying office through the toil and dedication of generations of Tobagonians and politicians from James Bigat, APT, Pam Nicholson, Murray, and many others who fought for better governance arrangements in Tobago. Yet, Chief Secretary Farley publicly refuses to take responsibility for guiding the shaping of Tobago's future because it's not his place nor his job. The Chief Secretary speaks to sending Ho Choi's documents to Trinidad. Ho Choi's word cannot be the last word on those documents. Hundreds of Tobagonians have the right to have a say, especially with the change in environment over the last decade and a half when the conversation on autonomy was restarted. Since then, we have had about 10 to 15,000 young persons who are now in the awareness of the potential impact that Tobago's autonomy could and should have on their future. And they have never had an opportunity to participate in those discussions. We had the historic 6-6 tie, which ended in a rushed amendment to create 15 seats in order to get back to elections. Is 15 a number to work with now that there are 3 parties in the electoral process? Is 15 the number required to have an effectively functioning legislature that can provide the oversight to any administration? The significant rise in crime over the years has to be taken into consideration. Who is responsible? What are our borders? And how to protect them? The failure of the Tobago House of Assembly Act to protect the people from being duped, where the electorate voted for a party and in 9 months there was the birth of the independence with the attempt to morph into another entity at this time. This has to form part of the discussions. And maybe Tobagonians want it so, but they must have the right to say yes or no. The ongoing abuse of the Legislative House over the course of the last 2 years, with an autocratic, top-heavy Executive Council and a powerless minority that has been nothing short of an exchange of previous administrations. This demonstrates the responsibility to review the design of the governance framework in Tobago and even in Trinidad. These, among many more critical issues, are justifiable reasons for having the discussions with the country on Tobago's autonomy. But according to Chief Secretary Farley, it's not his place, nor his job, not his responsibility. What are we to think? It has gone past incompetence to a dereliction of duty. But this seems to be a trend, since it's not the first time he has abdicated his responsibility. The Tobago economy has been in collapse for the last 2 years, certainly by decisions made by his administration. And it is continuing in that way with no signs of turning around. And no support from the THA to turn it around. And the Chief Secretary says nothing. Has he had meaningful collaborations with stakeholders, providing the solutions required to put Tobago on a steady path to development? I doubt. And we now know it's because it's not his place nor his job to deal with it. Crime is at an all-time high in Tobago, but it's not his place nor his job to seek better security and safety for those residing on and visiting the island. When will the Chief Secretary be having discussions with the Prime Minister, who is the head of the National Security Council, so innovative solutions can be created to address Tobago's unique position of unprotected borders between the islands? We demand accountability from our leaders. The Chief Secretary's reluctance to address these pressing issues of Tobago's autonomy, rising crime, in economic collapse, and legislative abuse is unacceptable. These are not just matters of governance. They are matters of fundamental rights and the well-being of our people. Is this not why they campaigned to fix? Tobagonians have the right to participate in decisions that impact their future. The voices of our youth, the victims of crime, and all citizens must be heard in discussions on autonomy, security, economic revitalization, and governance reform. It is time for genuine consultation and inclusive decision-making. And so the IDA asked the question, if it's not his place nor his job to address these matters, then whose responsibility is it? Ultimately, the responsibility for Tobago's future lies with its people. And if Chief Secretary Augustine refuses to lead, then we, the people of Tobago, must step forward and take charge of our own destiny. In light of the Chief Secretary's shortcomings, the responsibility is therefore left up to the people to seek a brighter future. There are people and organizations like CivilNet, the Council of Elders, and others who are planning arrangements to address pressing issues and pave the way for a better future for all. The IDA remains committed to Tobago's development and therefore extends our hand in collaboration with these organizations, because Tobago's future is more than one man, one woman, one party, or one group. It's about everyone having their voices heard. If after 2 years, the Chief Secretary does not understand the assignment, then the only choice before him is to do the honorable thing and resign. Relinquish the seat to someone who will prioritize the needs of the people over personal interests. While he is contemplating his resignation, the IDA offers guidance on the following issues. The Tobago autonomy discussions should be taken to the legislature in a special sitting, and the process be unanimously approved by the House, for creating a committee of the experts, which involves all political parties, a timeline for the process to occur, and a budget which caters for the convening of public meetings across the country, a Tobago Convention on Constitutional Reform, and legal fees to complete the legislative framework of Tobago's desires. That document is again taken to the Legislative House, and unanimous approval of the independents and parties after unanimous approval of the independents and parties has been achieved, we then submit the document to Trinidad. All parties must embrace that this document has to be approved by all to give Tobago any chance of having greater autonomy. Discussions must then be held with parliamentarians of the upper and lower house by all parties with relationships therein. Even the people have a role to call upon their representatives and let them be clear on the desires and the wants of the people of Tobago. Carnival is currently a topical issue. Despite the millions of dollars owed to cultural artists of past events, this administration must do better in proactively planning and executing on the potential of the creative sector to contribute to the economy. Leadership is not about do as I say and not as I do. And leadership in 2024 must be about having deep discussions with stakeholders to share a vision based on evidence. When there's buy-in from them, stakeholders have a vested interest to develop solutions. Disruptive decisions proposed 3 weeks before the National Carnival celebrations that end up in quite a disruptive meeting with the stakeholders is unacceptable. And it shows a lack of understanding of the ramifications on a national event enshrined in the legislation. But it seems to be in keeping with the Chief Secretary's mantra, it's not his job nor his place to address this in an appropriate manner. The proposed changes, after discussions with stakeholders based on evidence and informed by experts, should be completed at least a year before the next event. And further to that, a motion moved in the House to adopt the changes agreed upon by stakeholders. A request can then be made to Trinidad to delink the Tobago Carnival from the national so that those decisions can be easily carried out without legal repercussions. This is all part of the autonomy discussions we should be having, because these nuances must be addressed at the level of constitutional reform. It must also be noted that in protecting and growing the art form in Tobago as part of the country, the two islands can have an exchange of ideas which will augur well and strengthen both carnivals with greater economic impact. Therefore, creating the opportunity for Tobago band leaders to partner with any Trinidad band leaders desirous of participating in Tobago's October Carnival should be legislated. Tobago's tourism attractions should be a year-round showcase while taking into consideration the preservation of our culture. Competitions are also a critical part of generating excellence in any arena. So moving senior bands to Carnival in October must take the form of a competition. This leaves February to be focused on kiddies and teen carnival competitions that will augur well for the sustainable growth of the art form. Since February is the cruise ship period, hosting a showcase of those who entered the competition in October not only allows for the tourists to participate in a good jump up, but also becomes a promotion for them to attend Carnival in October. The calypsos and pan can then be structured around these activities. There is an opportunity for pan to partner with bands on the road for Tuesday, and a calypso concert held on the Esplanade during the activities on Tuesday that gives patrons a choice. It is also time for the discussions on protecting the intellectual property of participants in the carnival creation, whether it be fetes, mass, pan, calypso, soca. And at the same time, finding ways to maximize on the economic value of the digital content generated by the whole experience. These are the innovative discussions and decisions that should be taking place in the interest of the development of the island instead of the haphazard organization and fast-talking foolishness of this administration. But I guess it's not their job nor their place to do this. The idea urges Chief Secretary Augustine to heed the voice of the people and resign from his position. That call came in his first 6 months in office, but the idea, being a fair-minded party, allowed him and his independents 2 years to settle and prove themselves capable that they could really deliver on what Tobago voted for. However, their time has expired. Their actions, inactions, and his admission that it's not their place nor their job, their responsibility, speaks volumes to the crisis we are experiencing. Tobago cannot afford to be led by someone who shirks responsibility and fails to address the pressing needs of our communities. Together, let us forge a path forward towards progress and prosperity for all Tobagonians and, by extension, Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you. Any questions at this time?
Some persons you didn't understand the statements now. Do you fully understand what he meant by the report that you continue to make reference to? What is your response to his response that you misinterpreted his?
Okay, so the challenge is that in different areas, different fora, the Chief Secretary says something different. In the Newsday, he calls it slight amendments. In The Guardian, he says no amendments. You know, what exactly is he saying? He's not speaking in clear terms as to what he is describing. So I am only going from the various news reports that have captured his utterances and not left to my own interpretation.
But at the last question, you think you would have made reference to what he said at the Kuchoi Chance phenomenon. And when you went back to his statements, he did in fact indicate that it was a document that Mr. Charles, while he was here, they would have gone through a line. The difference is what you understood it to mean amendments.
Yes. But what is the difference? We're playing with words. This is just a play of words. Amendments, slight changes, slight amendments, no amendments. Come on, we're playing with words.
So you're calling him to resign. So if he does resign tomorrow, what next?
Well, we go to elections. Yeah? But the people can't continue to be pressured like this. People cannot continue to be pressured like this. That's it. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to... Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of today's press conference. I want to thank you on behalf of the IDA for being with us, and we do look forward to you joining us on another occasion for our press conference. Thank you, and do have a productive day.